2-into-1 videos have become a staple of this channel over the years. You guys really like them, and I find them entertaining to do. So let's try to pull off another one, shall we? We've got a set of 4360 spicers here. Now, they've been made since like the late 80s. The 3600 actually uses the same internals. The case is different on a 4360, and that's basically the only change that happened with them. Another side note here is that a 6-speed 4360 actually has a higher output speed than an MST 206. So the guys that drag race them up here in Maine actually prefer the 4360. But anyways, this is a Murray 4360. You can tell by the ginormous compensational shifter up here to get above the frame rail in a Murray. And we have a Murray that we'd like to go and get up and running that unfortunately has a dead transmission in it. So this has its own quibbles, because that should not be poking up like that. Also, the axles do not move at all. This one, on the other hand, somebody got a little frustrated that the rims would not come off. So the axles rotate. The differential obviously seems to be working. But then, after they got it out of the tractor, they also discovered that the input is dead. And it doesn't seem to want to shift past about second or third gear on the shifter. So I figured between the two, we should be able to make one. Let's rip them apart. At the end of the day, these really aren't that hard to take apart. And you can do it with all basic hand tools, but I really do recommend just a very low level impact in order to do it with. So the input on a short shifter is usually a 7/16. The shift ball retainer is almost always 5/16. But if you're on a long shifter, a lot of times it will be a 3/8 for some reason. Not sure why that is. They just seem to have chosen a different style there. And a lot of these shifter ball caps, if they've been rebuilt, will be RTV'd to oblivion. Here we go. Yep, that one's got gray RTV. So there's our spring that we can rip out of there, and we'll set in the cap over here. Now, when we go to pop this top off, there's going to be two bearings that are down there, bearing balls, and we can actually see them down in there, but I'm not going to bother bringing it over. This right here is a neutral safety switch that you can actually, this is a neutral safety switch bunghole that you can actually screw and unscrew. So if you're looking for a machine that you can be able to add oil to for racing, for oil changes, for off-road mowers and things like that, that might be something you'll look for. Mine in my racing tractor, actually, I drilled down through this, and then I put a barb up and then glued a cap to it so that it acts as a vent, because that one doesn't go underwater. Now, all of the outside is going to be a bunch of T30s, and you're going to strip some. You are going to have some that just do not work. And what I recommend is always start with the two that are in here first, because that's going to let you know whether you got to drill them out with a 1/4-inch drill bit and just say screw it and move on to the next thing. Like that one's going to have to be drilled out because it's just plain garbage. My prediction on this one is that the input shaft rusted to the point that the bearing is seized, or the reverse chain managed to get jumped. And the reason why I say that is that I can take the brake shaft and I can go back and forth with the brake shaft, and I can see that it's interacting with the rear axle. So that means most likely whatever is stopping it is somewhere in this set of gears. Now, the other thing that... Whoop, there's another one and I just destroyed my drill bit. The other thing that these are notorious for is exploding their input shaft gear. But when they blow the input shaft gear, usually the input shaft ends up falling out of the pulling out of the transmission. And I just snapped off my Tractor Supply bit. Bits from Tractor Supply are not going to cut it on this project. So if you're going to do this enough, I actually order T30s from TEKTON on Amazon because you're going to destroy them. All it takes is doing probably about 10 of these here in the Rust Belt of Maine, and you destroy a bit. So better off to just order a few and go at it. And I think these are like $5 a piece. I'll post a link down below. We got the 3 drilled out that ended up rounded off. Everybody has a method to getting these cases open. I like the putty knife into the corner method. I actually was told this by an old timer back about 5 years or so ago, and I do it on almost all of them now. So the trick is not to get into here where your seal is, because that seal is, like everything on these, an unobtainium part. And so you just want to cut down through right where that bolt hole is just to break the seal. Just like that. So now we can take this one and put it in on this side. And you can do it with the regular screwdriver method. I just have found that the putty method seems to be less violent, I guess you would say, in order to get it started. But once it's started, it really doesn't matter. The other thing I've seen people do is I've seen them drive a X-Acto knife blade in. Not an X-Acto knife, but you know what I mean. Regular triangular blade in order to break it free. Okay, so this is all rusted up. It's going to be stupid. It's not going to come out nicely, most likely. So we're just going to sit here and tap, tap, tap-a-roo it. And then we're going to see if we can manage to get a screwdriver on it. There's a hook that comes around the shifter that you can set the screwdriver into, and I'll show you in just a sec, right there. So if you put the screwdriver in like this, you can get it around the hook. And there's our 2 shift balls that we are going to immediately hunt down and get out of there. Well, I can tell that I'm wrong about the idea of a jump chain, because that seems perfectly fine. So it was not a jump chain that caused the issue, because we can see that everything is moving there. And this is our input gear here. I'm going to try and rotate it, and it will not rotate. So the bearings that are in there have rusted solid and just will not turn. So that's free rolling. We can see that is perfectly happy there. Oops, now I kick that over. Come on, get back in there. There it goes. So at this point, if you grab this and rotate this direction, you should be able to check that everything is rotating. So There we go. And then this is your shifter, and I can see that the shift key there is perfectly fine. So now one little thing on this is everything in this is all SAE or T30, but for some reason this is a 10 millimeter. So let's see if we can get it to shift. There we go. So that right there would be 5th gear. And then we should be able to shift it. Whoops. Come on. We should be able to get it to shift back through all the way to reverse and then neutral. Which it doesn't seem to want to, so I'm wondering if there's something else wrong. There it goes. Okay, so that should be in reverse gear right now. Yep. So that's reverse. So if we can get it to shift one more this direction and lock without jumping it, right somewhere right in there, should be neutral. As these things get older, finding neutral gets more interesting. There we go. So right now we're in neutral. So now we should be able to spin this and hold this solid, and we're in neutral and we can check everything. So yeah, the only thing wrong was the input shaft bearing is all seized up. Somebody definitely got their mileage out of that brake pad. There's like down to about 2/3 of it or so. But we're gonna see if we can get this thing popped open now. I didn't bother filming taking out 3 billion screws and whatevers because I didn't think anybody needed to see that twice. So that went pretty good. Huh. And let's see. I don't know what it is about this Murray style axle setup, but I find that getting the spatula started for some reason on these seems to be a little harder. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's just I'm not a fan of Murray's and so therefore I'm exhibiting my hate for them and it knows it or something. But they just always seem harder to start for some reason. Okay, let's see if we can get this one to go in here. And remember to stay away from where the axle seals are. You want to deliberately impact in a spot that has bolt holes going through so that it structurally can take the impact. Pop. There we go. So at this point now we should be able to do like last time, tap on the shaft, except for in my haste to shoot this video I forgot to pop this seal. This seal is an unobtainium part and it seems to be some sort of weird proprietary thing. So be careful with it, be nice taking it off, set it someplace that you're going to lose it as soon as you walk away. Okay. So I think we're in the right direction. See if we can get a pry bar on the shifting fan here. Come on, get out of it. There is something screwed up because it should have just rotated out of there. Don't know why we're having so much issue. There it goes. There. Okay, so the input shaft is refusing to rotate. So something in the input shaft is probably gunk. And I just dumped everything into there when it flipped. Okay, one this direction should put us in neutral. Nope, too far. I think that's first gear right there. Oh, nope, that's neutral. There we go. Okay, so now if we drop this back in, we should be able to get it to spin through and make sure everything's fine. Yes, I know. I'll clean it out. I'll get all of the dirt and grime out of it, but right now spinning this in order to double check everything is not going to really matter. Okay. Actually, that's bound sideways for some reason. That's not going down in. It just does not want to sit down in there. There's something going on binding it. There's nothing wrong there. This is not sitting correctly for some reason. That's probably not helping. Oh, it's because this is keyed and it was sitting with the key down. That might be what was causing it. It might have been that the keyed shaft on the end was causing an issue. Other way, you stupid. There we go. Nope, it just kicked sideways again. Something in there is just not happy. There it goes. There, so now we can rotate this and we can see it rotate through everything. So I honestly think it's just the input shaft. I don't know what it is about Murray style shifters, but they all seem to be made out of really soft metal up here where it connects. So in case you maul it, you want to have a 1/4x28 tap on hand in order to fix when this ends up mushrooming over. Luckily, the distance between clearing a belt and everything on the Murray, there's a good solid inch or so. So even if you have to regrind this top, you've got plenty to play with. These pliers, without question, are my favorite ones that I have ever owned for doing these. I highly recommend picking up a pair. I'll post a link. They're not overly expensive. They're way better than the generic ones, though. So at this point, we should be able to flip this, drop that gear right out of there, and then give this thing a pull. There we go. And, oh yeah, you can see right there where the needle bearings have rusted right to it. Every one of those lines is a needle bearing that should be moving, and it apparently isn't. And the reason why this thing is sticking out so far is because there should be a C-clip in this groove right here with this washer down further. So let me see if I can move this. This washer should be sitting below this. And then this washer should be sitting down below this. And this C-clip should actually be sitting down in this groove, and I don't know why it isn't right now. But either way, we're going to grease the snot out of that. We're going to see if that bearing will come loose enough in order to at least test this. And we'll plan on ordering up some bearings for it. A friend of mine who owed me a favor made me a little adapter that slips down on years ago, so that all I had to do was just put an impact on it. So now we're in neutral. And if we go this way, that should be reverse. You come back one, should be neutral again. Now, if you look down through these holes, you can actually see where the divot lines up for the ball in order to tell where it is. So this should be neutral. And then That way 1 should be first gear. And then if we crank it all the way, that should be 6th. I couldn't finish fixing the transmission, so you have to show them a baby to make the people happy, because they're convinced that it doesn't exist.
He's right there.
Oh.
He's sleeping.
There we go. See? Just a baby in order to make everybody happy and finish the video outright. Well, guys, the real reality is, on the 2 transmissions, they both had the same exact failure, and I don't have bearings in order to replace on either transmission, so we couldn't fix either one fully. But you guys got a video to watch, you got to learn a little bit, and cute baby. Say bye-bye.
Bye.